going to be talking a bit about the social and political aspects of us creating a new economy and how we're going to be able to cooperate together to do that. And I thought I might just start off by stealing Julian's little idea of a monster and think about the monster that we can all have and we can all create, which is a bit of a paradox as well, because it's like a little values monster. We have our values, and these days it's very trendy to be passionate about your values. I'm very passionate about everything I do, and I'm passionate about my values. The problem becomes when, if you don't agree with my strategies, then I decide that not only do you not agree with my values, but you are a really bad person, and therefore I can attack you and maybe call you some nasty names. And then we end up with a very polarized discussion. Now, the question is, how are we going to work together on this project? And I'm sure we've all had experiences, I'm sure we've had experiences of working in groups and movements where some debates have turned rather poisonous. And I know this can be a real problem in especially creating new things. But I think there's a very important other aspect that I want to stress, and it's a very positive one, that moving towards the idea of creating a new economy and designing a new economy brings back to us a whole area of political freedom, which the assumption of market-based society has suppressed. So under what I would call economism, all debates about the nature of the good life, all these important questions of how we live together, how can we be free and respect each other, they all are squashed because we just leave everything up to the market. We don't need all these discourses about values and philosophy and how we live together, because the market will sort it all out for us. Well, we have to forget that. We've now got to work all these things out again ourselves. And there are many wonderful resources that we have to do this, which I would, say are partly in philosophy and politics, political thinking. We have a lot of stuff that we can draw on for this project. But here I just wanted to point to perhaps some ways that if we can think about the relationships and the difference between these three areas of goals, facts, and strategies, we might be able to have constructive disagreements. And constructive disagreements, I think, are a serious foundation for democracy. One of the problems that we have is the current level of heat that is being deliberately generated in political discourse that destabilizes our ability to cooperate and have constructive disagreement. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, one of the things that we learn in systems thinking is that to move away from a predetermined idea of how something should be, well, it's always been like this, therefore it must still be like this. Well, no. We now know we have to design a new economy together. That means it has to have a goal. So if we might have a broad concept of what that goal should be. And indeed, through some kind of miracle, the UN has agreed on a lot of very, pretty sound universal common goals for humanity. We can still debate them. That's still very, very important that we always continue to debate these values and goals. But we can have provisional agreements that can help us do things together. But in order to design strategies, so by strategies I mean what we do, what's our political program, what are our priorities, how can we move from A to B, we need to be thinking about what kind of facts we are going to look at. And this is another area of very important potential agreement and disagreement. we might have very different views of what the relevant facts are in a situation. We still want to draw on the best possible evidence that we have, but in one context, a group of people might see the relevance of certain factors as, more important than another. So again, this is a very legitimate area of disagreement and constructive disagreement that we can have with each other. And, I want to sort of suggest that actually our strategies come out of looking at how we can achieve our goals given our idea of what the facts are. So it's no good us sort of trying to rush straight towards our goals without thinking about what's the background and the facts and the possibilities for setting a strategy. So when we get to strategies, we can see that many people who might agree with our goals be equally passionate about our goals, about the goals that we hold together, might have some very, very different strategies. So I think it's really important for our democratic possibilities to be able to understand and get the idea that we might have very, very different strategies. That doesn't mean that we're bad people or that we can't talk to each other. That we can find out maybe in which of these areas our disagreements are. So I'm very familiar with situations, and I expect you might be too, where discussions about different strategies lead straight into some kind of moral fight. And this is where our little values monster can come up and say, well, I actually have the right values. Damn it, what's wrong with you? Well, actually, I do want to suggest that rediscovering the joys of reasonableness and engaging with others is a really genuine and important source of the kind of freedom that we need to reclaim as a part of creating this new economy together. And I think, that we've been told that freedom is all about the freedom to consume, the freedom to do what we like as long as we've got enough money to buy the thing or buy the experience. And we have to be designing together a new idea of what freedom is going to mean. And I would propose that part of that freedom is going to be opening up these spaces in our heads and together in our what we used to call the body politic to debate these questions. And it's a bit like excuse me, consumerist society. I'll just take a sip of water here. If we think about this body politic, it's a bit like consumerist society has been telling us that the whole body politic is just this big mouth, and completely overruling and diminishing the enormous potential of human being, and the enormous diversity of human capacity, just to this one thing, which becomes a kind of rather degraded sort of experience and can lead us to really wreck our relations with each other if we just concentrate on that, And throughout human history, there have been many other conceptions of collective freedom and collective engagement. And I guess if we're thinking about building a well-being economy and spreading more love and recognition and tolerance, then we also need to be thinking that love isn't just us going along with what everyone else says. Love is engagement. Love is actually taking seriously other people's opinions and being with them, and sometimes just maybe parking our views and our little values monster in order that we can help create freedom together. And I want to say that the experiences I've really enjoyed most in my life, when I've felt most free, have been those times when I've really been engaging with other people. It's a funny thing, that And I think it's a really big difference here that we can build and do together. So I just wanted to end by sort of pointing to the idea that, which is another, I think, idea in the growth of knowledge, that, and especially in philosophy, one of the things that you read people and you listen to their ideas, not because you believe everything they say. You may not even agree with them, but there's almost always something interesting that they've said on the way to where they end up, even if you might disagree with it. I think this concept of being interestingly wrong is a really nice concept. And the freedom to feel that you can explore things. One of the things I have pinned up on my notice board at home is a nice little postcard one of my friends sent me, probably because they knew me very well, you know, which says, "I've learnt so much from my mistakes, I think I'll make another." So I do think that in this project that we have together of opening up our freedom and our democratic creation of a new world that is within limits and contributes to the well-being of all, that we do need to feel free to make mistakes with each other together. And so I encourage us all to maybe think about the social and democratic aspects of the new economy for the 21st century.